All right, so I gotta be honest. I don't think there's a fight I'm more excited about on this card. To me, this is my co-main event. Arman Tsarukyan versus Joel Álvarez. My word, this is such a high-level fight, and I'm shocked that it's not even, in that last two fights, if you will. It's going to be crazy exciting. I don't think that's even a question, but think about the storylines here, right? We've got Arman's big lone loss coming against Makhachev earlier in his career. They're on the same card this weekend. And I just love the way Joel Álvarez has made a come up in the UFC. That Thiago Moises fight, you think about what we saw from Thiago Moises up to that fight. Just really give it a thought process. You had the Bobby Green fight. You had the opportunity to go and fight Islam Makhachev. Like, this guy was being talked about as a perennial top 10 fighter, if you will. Just such a good showing, throughout the pandemic. But then, boom, he faces this long, elite-looking fighter named Joel Álvarez and gets completely pieced up. Let's be honest, since 2017, Joel Álvarez is 11-1 with all finishes, but a lot of them were on the ground. The boxing that we saw from Joel Álvarez in that fight was phenomenal. He attacked the body so well, and those elbows in close coming out of the clinch, that just ended Moises very easily. And the thing that you love about him is, for the long fighter that he is, he naturally has that long jab. He uses the push kicks and the leg kicks. He has such a good array of distance strikes. And then when he gets in close, he all of a sudden turns into this Muay Thai champion with vicious knees and these elbows that are cutting you up within seconds. And I really like this kid, man. It's crazy to think that he's taken a guy like Arman Tsarukyan, who a lot of people have pegged to be this, potential title contender over the next few years. Like we said, main loss is Islam Makhachev. And you think about the way he approaches fights, I think this is just an incredibly elite matchup. The defense on the feet for Arman is going to be huge. 1.4 strikes absorbed and 62% defense. It's going to be very important here. And that's where I think when you really break these two guys down, the one area I think Arman might have an opportunity here is just that volume striking, the level changing. Now, we know that Álvarez is so dangerous off of his back, and Arman's going to have to be very careful with that. But judging by the way the fights have gone for Joel so far and the way Tsarukyan fights, I think taking this fight to the ground makes a lot of sense for him, at least from a control perspective. Get some of that ground and pound going. Obviously, avoid some of those big chokes that Álvarez loves so much, but you just think about where some advantage can be gained. Álvarez, from a distance striking perspective, is looking better and better and better. And I'm such a big fan of what he's doing right now. And you think about just all of the success that Álvarez has had on the ground, it makes it so difficult to see where a guy like Arman Tsarukyan can really find success. That's the part that I'm really curious about. And that's the thing about Joel's game, right? Is you can actually see him utilizing the takedowns to take the fight to the ground and actually try to see how good Arman is off his back. The most beautiful thing about Joel's game is how well he utilizes those distance strikes to then set up his strikes from in close. It was an absolute beautiful performance against a guy like Thiago Moises. That was one of the more shocking performances I've seen in a long time, and it just comes from the level of domination. It was hard to see Thiago Moises go down in that way. And I think Álvarez, for a lot of people, especially the diehards, just became a fighter to watch in a huge way. And I think Arman's already been on that list for quite some time. So that's what makes this fight so important for just the UFC over the next year or two, because these are the guys that we want to see fighting for titles over the next 3-4 years. That's a fact. So looking at this fight as closely as we have, I really think that Tsarukyan should still be the favorite here. And the only reason I think that is because when you consider just the overall level of competition that Arman Tsarukyan has seen over the course of his career, I do think it trumps Joel Álvarez a little bit. But the improvements that we're seeing from Joel are astronomical. So I think it's a close fight. I'm going with Arman as a -150 here. He's got the resume, he's got the skills, and to be honest, the game plan seems fairly legit to be able to get in close, work some in-close striking, clinch work, get it to the ground if you can, and just avoid those big chokes. Whereas for Joel, it's keep using those distance strikes, man. For a guy who's smaller, you're going to be able to get some serious damage in there. And once you do, you can get in close and just have your way with him. You know you're good on the ground. You're going to have confidence off your back. So there's just a lot of things that both guys can be happy about. So let's go Arman's a minus 150. In MMA, I think that's a fairly close line with just a slight edge. So let's take a look here. Yeah, so I mean that's pretty close, right? I mean, just minus 225 opener, now about a minus 220, minus 200 in some places. Bet365 currently has a line for these two at minus 210 and plus 175 for Joel Alvarez. I gotta be honest, man. As good as I think Arman Tsarukyan is, to see Joel Alvarez as a plus 175 underdog after the fight that we just watched, there's a part of me that thinks that that is a dog or pass bet. It's just, can you believe in Arman so badly that you want to take him at minus 210? I'm sorry. That's a really tough line to swallow. And Joel Alvarez at almost plus 200 just looks so juicy right now. Keep an eye out for that fight. I think it could easily be the best fight of the night.